So welcome to the workout, how to correctly work your abs and your core in order to stabilize your back. And we have just learned that the multifidi work best in a neutral position and that they co-contract with the transverse abdominus. So we're going to use those two principles in order to work the core and stabilize our back. So the first question I'm going to answer is, how do we strengthen the multifidi? And second, how do we release those that are too tense or gotten into a spasm? So first of all, we're going to start standing. You just want to stand hip width apart, really feel your feet grounding on the floor, knees slightly bent. Put your hip into a neutral tilt, whatever for now is neutral for you. So grab your hip with your hands and you will feel here in front these two bones, the anterior superior iliac spine. So you want to narrow your hips a little bit, and this actually increases the space your sacrum has in the back of your hips. So you narrow your hip points, and now imagine, again, something really tight. You're going to put on a very tight pant and you're going to zip it up from the pubic bone to your navel. So action number one is narrowing the hip points. Action number two is zipping up from the pubic bone to the navel. And this engages, these two movements engages the transverse abdominus, especially the lower portion, and this co-contracts the multifidi. So you might already feel, when you just do this, how they contract. So put one hand on your lower belly and one hand onto your lower back, and now exhale, narrow your hip points, zip up from the pubic bone to the navel, hold, hold, hold it 3 to 5 seconds, and then inhale, release. So when you're doing it, it's very important that you stay neutral, especially in your pelvis, because there is going to be a tendency to tilt the pelvis backwards while you're zipping up. So don't do that. And again, narrow the hip points, exhale, zip up from the pubic bone to the navel, and just feel the co-contraction in your lower back. Hold for 3-5 seconds and release. No movement in the hips. We do it one more time together. On an exhale, narrow your hip points, zip up from the pubic bone to the navel, feel the co-contraction, and inhale, release. And you can keep doing this because this creates the basis for the engagement of the transverse abdominus, the lower part, which helps you stabilize your lower back. Now, you might say this is not an ab movement, but this is your abdominal strength. This is your core strength that will give you stability in your core, in your upper body. So next we're gonna release the rectus abdominis. In case you have a tendency to have a flexed spine as like your neutral base posture, then this might be very beneficial for you in order to open up and get into a more neutral position. So you can position your hands behind your back, fingers pointing towards your feet. Make sure you open the chest and pull your collarbones onto the side, so collarbones spreading wide like wings. And on an inhale, you want to lift your chest, look slightly up, rotate your pelvis forward, and on the exhale, you just release down into a neutral position. So you're rolling on your sitting bones, hip rolling forward, creating a slight arch, and hip points rolling backwards. So you're coming up on an inhale and back down on an exhale. And I can give you an option on a chair that you can do in an office setting, environment. So you're going to position the hands flat on the chair, finger pointing towards you. Same thing, spread your collarbones, and then on an inhale come up with your chest, and exhale, coming down, rocking on your sit bones, rocking forward. On an inhale, try to create an even arch and rocking backwards. And keep your shoulders backwards and open and not pulling towards your ear. All right. So third exercise aims to release the multifidi that might be contracted. So start with your hands under your shoulders, knees under your hips, and by narrowing your hip points and zipping up from the pubic bone to the navel, so this engages your transverse and a little bit the multifidi. Now tuck your tail under, so we're going to start with the hip, and the goal is to create space between each and every vertebrae. So we go very slowly, starting with the sacrum, first lumbar vertebrae. So go very slowly and pay special attention to the areas that might not move so well. You might feel some heat in your back. This comes from contractions that get released, so that's a good sign. So work your way up to the thoracic spine. Don't rush. Don't go all the way with your head already. Keep it in neutral position. And just walk your way up to the mid of the thorax, upper thorax, and then the cervical spine rounding up. So you might want to stay here a little bit, get into this nice round shape, exhaling, pulling the navel in as much as you can, and then slowly releasing down again, getting back into your neutral position. So do this 2-3 times to really get used to it, to the movement. And you might want to try in front of a mirror where you can really see areas that stay flat, where you might need to work a little bit more. And really enjoy this very intense stretch for your back, an active stretch, and your abs are working. Surprise! Alright, and release. So now that we've released the multifidi, we can start working them. So get back into your 4-point position and narrow your hip points, zip up from the pubic bone to the navel to create some stability. Now, on an exhale, extend the right leg. Don't arch the back, only to the height of your hip. And inhale, come back down, put the knee down under your hip. Exhale, change leg, extend, and inhale down. Now the challenge is not to move your back. Like, you might be used to just throwing the leg backwards. It's not a glutes exercise, it's a transverse exercise, so we're stabilizing. In order to make this a little bit more difficult, if this one-legged exhale and extension is too easy for you, you do the same thing, but you also extend the arm forward. Now, same thing, you don't want to go further up than your shoulder. The head stays in a neutral position, extend the neck, keep it on an exhale, extend, inhale, come back down, change side, exhale, extend, don't go too high. The legs aren't important, the height is not important. Zip up your pants from the pubic bone to the navel, bring it up and narrow your hip points. Now you also want to extend your side waist. So lengthen from the waist so that you create as much space as humanly possible in your upper body. Exactly what we want to do to create space between our vertebrae. Now if you want to go even further, you can come into what you might want to call a crunch. Go in, up again, change side. So come up, come into a flexion, just go into neutral position, don't extend, and come back down. Inhale, exhale. This is an inhale, so you round. Exhale, inhale, come back. Exhale. So the exhalation helps you to bring the navel in and to get your waist longer. For the next exercise, we have the same starting position, and you want to tuck your toes under because we're now lifting the knees. So you want to narrow your hip points, same thing again. First action, narrowing the hip points. Second action, you pull up the pants, narrow and squeeze in from the pubic bone to the navel. And with this tension, with this ignition, you can lift the knees slightly. And now pay big attention to your pelvis so the pelvis doesn't change position. You want to keep the spine in a neutral position. Remember, the multifidi can only work in a neutral position. Don't hang, don't sag, just keep the hip bones, just keep the sit bones pointing backwards, the crown of your head pointing forward, and release down. If ever you need a rest, go slowly into child's pose for a moment. Now come back up again, put your toes down again, and we're gonna go into a half plank, which is right leg comes back, shoots back, you get onto the toes, and now get yourself into a neutral position, narrow the hip points, zip up until the navel, and then lift the knee. And lower back down, change sides, left leg, shooting back, engage, get yourself into a neutral position, narrow the hip points, and then lift the knee. And now if you want to, you can come into full plank, keeping the same position. So this is also an excellent exercise to come into your perfect plank. So the spine is still neutral, but you still narrow your points, you zip up. Now still engage the waistline, so you're going to lengthen from the waist. And this is perfect core training and abs training. Perfect. Lower down and release for a second. Now for the next exercise, we finally gonna lie on our backs. This is not going to be a crunch. Head is lying on the floor the whole time, and we're bringing our upper body into a neutral position again. So your lower back is not pushing against the floor. You can actually put your hand under your lower back and there should be some space. You might be even reaching all the way through with your hand. Perfect. Now bring your knees over the hip points, over your sacrum, and you might already feel your abs engaging. So same movement again, you want to narrow your hip points and you want to zip up from the pubic bone, and as well lengthen your waistline. So open up the rib cage so you can still breathe and just leave the arms onto the sides. So this is already a workout, you might feel it. If you want to push it a bit further, you can lift your feet. The knees stay where they are, just lift the feet and lower them down. Or you can do it one leg at a time, which is a bit easier. If you want an even bigger challenge, you can try to tap with your toes onto the floor, but just hold on to this upper body so you're not arching. Make sure that your upper body stays in that neutral position. You want to push even further, you tap with both feet and you hold it like crazy. And this is perfect core training without hurting your back and even doing very good for your back. Right, exhale, engage the transverse. Wonderful. Now for the last exercise of this series, we're going to come onto our belly and we go in Shalabhasana, yoga exercise, and we go in Shalabhasana. So bring the arms along your side body. You can lift them or not according to how much weight you want to bring on your upper body. So first of all, create that ignition from narrowing your hip points and zipping up from the pubic bone. So you want to avoid tilting the pelvis too far backwards. So keep the pelvis in neutral position. This is not too easy in a lying position, lying on your belly. And then lift the legs without squeezing the butt too much. So you don't want to be all squeezing tightly into the midline. You want to squeeze the butt, but lifting the legs. This is where the glutes start to work. Now you might want to lift your chest bone a little bit and keep the head in a neutral position. Now if you want to lift the arms, just bring the shoulder blades towards the spine and towards the hips. So lower the hips down the back. Now stay here, trying to squeeze the navel in, lengthen the sides, and then relax. Wonderful. So this is the exercise to really strengthen the multifidi if you're not coming too high up. So just lifting a little bit will do, because they don't work in too much extension. They can't. They only work in a neutral position. So I hope you enjoyed this little workout. Feel free to do it 4 times a week if you want to really strengthen your core and avoid back pain. And I hope you subscribe to my channel if you liked it. Thumbs up, like it, and please share with your friends and family. See you soon. Bye. So I hope you enjoyed this little sequence. Where's my little vertebrae?